What's your favorite color? Got it? Now think for a moment. Is there a song with that color in the title? We're counting down our top 5 songs with a color in the title. Stay with us. Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. Weekly doses of entertainment information. Eric, you could probably get it somewhere else, but you're not going to get it like this. We've got a particular style about us.
I think so.
Right? That people connect to. We're like the everyman of podcasting.
Very good. That's a very good way to put it. Yes.
We should do dodgeballs. We're like the average Joes of podcasting. Although we don't have Rip
the
Torn
Step Brothers
in a wheelchair to,
yeah.
If you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball.
All right.
Anyway, we if you're new to the show, thanks for checking us out. We appreciate it. This is a good one. We love to do our top 5s. They're always a lot of fun. And it's one of our most interactive style episodes because we're going to go through our titles. And then in the show notes is a link for a Spotify playlist. And if you contact us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube and give us your choices, we will add it to that playlist. And then you can have it there and then share it with your friends and say, hey, I'm a part of this cool playlist from the podcast because I submitted, helped crowdsource it. So that's a kind of a really neat thing that we do. So, and if you've been with us, then you know that we do that with these top 5. So we encourage you also to reach out. And if you want to message us, you can do that within your favorite podcast app as well. There's a little text us thing. And you can do that if you so choose. Otherwise you can be silent and just enjoy the content and we'll keep bringing it to you. We promise. So let's get this going. Let's see. We've got, God, they both have the same last name.
Yeah.
Let's go with the newer one.
The newer face.
Welcome Jonathan Clark.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Halls of the 3324 podcast. Jonathan, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I like the top 5 idea. It's always fun. And anytime I listen and hear the top 5, I'm half listening because I'm thinking my own top 5. So it's good to be able to share it.
Yeah, it's neat. Well, we appreciate you having you aboard. You come from a venerable pedigree of music knowledge, and it springs forth from the other Clark that is with us, Mr. Christopher Clark. How are you, sir?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Always a pleasure.
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here. I'm excited to do another top 5. I haven't done one since my first episode, so this is going to be awesome.
Okay, and so and this completes the Clark hat trick because we had the father.
We had Clark Senior.
Yes, we had Mr. Kevin Clark on.
Your names all they sound like great comic book characters. I think Chris Clark, Jonathan Clark. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but it's just a great. It just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
And then Kevin, right? Yeah, there you go.
And Kevin, of course.
Yep.
Of course. So, so we're welcoming you guys aboard. We're going to be doing a top 5 songs with a color in the title. So this should be an interesting and fun one. And I came up with the list pretty quick, but then I started swapping some things out. Now, let me ask you guys before we get to it, though. In your lists, do you have any duplicate colors? You could just answer yes or no. So do you have in your list a recurring color, or did you try and make it, all different?
I tried to avoid making a duplicate.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I tried to avoid duplicate, but then when I started going to my honorable mentions, it duplicated there.
Yeah.
But every time I pull a song, I'm like, I don't want to put that because I have that color already. But I think some are hard to avoid. Some of the
there's only so many colors.
Yeah, I mean, how many songs have the title, the word black in the title, or white in the title,
or blue?
Yeah. Blue is a big one. Eric, what about you? Was it?
Yeah, pretty much the same as Jonathan. But there might be a couple of perhaps different shades.
Sure.
Of color. Right? I mean, a different type of maybe red or whatever. So
that's what makes it interesting. Once you get out of the standard colors, the red, orange, blue, then there's shades and there's not that there's a song, but there's teal and there's other types of colors or other words that describe color. So this will be fun to find out what we've got. So. And again, we encourage you to reach out to us with your picks on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, and we can add it to our Spotify playlist. So right now we're going to start. We're not going to chat anymore. We're going to start building that playlist right now. We're going to kick it off with the new guy, the son of the Felix Pappalardi fan club president.
See, I was trying to avoid mentioning that, but
we can't. We're never. It's never going to go.
No, it's never going to
It's a really, really inside.
You'll never
joke.
live that down.
No, you have
never.
For everybody out there, you had to have listened to a specific episode in order to get that joke. Now, if you want to get the joke, it's our Dylan episode, "Blood on the Tracks." So if you want to get the genesis of the joke, that's where it's from. And these gentlemen, their father is a big Felix Pappalardi fan. So much so that he had a sighting. He thought he had a sighting on our show.
Yeah.
But all kidding and fun and games aside, let's kick it off with Jonathan. So your first, give us your number 5. These are songs with a color in the title.
All right, so I'm going to start with one of the blandest colors, but one of my favorite songs of all time, which is Gray. This is Gray Street by Dave Matthews Band. I've seen Dave Matthews Band more than any other band. I've seen them 25 times, and I just checked. I heard this song live 13 times. So wow. This is the second track off their Busted Stuff album, which came out around, I think it was 2001. It came out, and the song is a fan favorite. It very much has the style or feel of like an Ants Marching or one of their more popular songs. But what was interesting about that time is they recorded an album, which is now known as the Lillywhite Sessions. And, this was the day when things would leak and pop up on the internet. And while the album was being recorded, it somehow got leaked and showed up. And the band was really down about it because they thought they had something good in the middle of the workings. And after that, they kind of just lost steam on it, and they recorded another album. And then they came back and put that album out in some form as the album Busted Stuff. And Gray Street was on both of those. And, it's the best song. To me, it's one of the best songs that they have. And it's a great song. And I think it's approachable for even if you're not a Dave Matthews Band fan, there's something in there. And
so you said it's on, is it the same version that's on both albums?
It's a different version.
So which version? So you want the one from
Busted? Well, it's the one on Busted Stuff. It's the version that came out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because they never really, they never went back to the sessions because it was just called the Lillywhite Sessions, which you could get on YouTube and stuff. But, I mean, we all remember those early days where you'd have to have someone burn you the CD or find it on Napster or LimeWire. And
Napster.
Yeah.
Fair share.
Yeah. It's just one of my favorite songs. And, I could go see them. And if they played it twice in a night, I would be okay with it. I mean, it's just one of those songs. So that was one of the first ones I said earlier, just popped in my mind.
Yeah. Every Day came from that too, right? I mean, he was Dave. Well, that was at the time he was very depressed, and so those songs just didn't work out, right? So Every Day was the
album that
was more sort of accessible and a little bit more poppy, I dare say.
Yeah, because he wrote a lot of those songs with Glenn Ballard, who was the producer for Alanis Morissette.
Yes,
worked with her, and he was the person that brought in a baritone guitar and said to Dave Matthews, try this, and that reinvigorated Dave Matthews. And it was a controversial is too strong, but fans had their opinions on it, and that album I think has aged better with the fans over time. And you look back, you're like, all right, it wasn't as bad, but we all thought we were getting this. So
yeah. It's too bad that leaking songs caused him to just totally like shelve it and be like, you know what, just like,
yeah. They said, they felt that it was like, I think Carter Beauford, the drummer, said it was like you go to an art museum and you see the painting you had half done at your house all of a sudden hanging on the wall.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, when you put it that way. Yeah.
And there's a lot of other things going into it. I'm sure there's more to it than that, but kind of like why bother? This song, out of everything, this song is just it's an instant classic. And I felt I had to put them on there because at the time we're recording this, within days they're going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I thought it was good timing.
All right,
And
great.
Jonathan, it just got knocked out of my top 5. I had it in mine as well. So,
oh man, I thought I was going to knock some of my brothers out, but
it's on the bottom of my list now.
Well, I'm excited to hear.
It's a great song.
Wow, look at that. That's
right.
That's interesting. All right, well, Eric, why don't we kick it right over to you then and slot something in on the fly. Let's hear. Give us a number 5 for you. If you got
All right, so number 5, I'm a big fan of Ray LaMontagne.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from his Supernova album. It's called Lavender. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like he went from being sort of the previous album was with the prairie thing kind of thing, and it was more sort of indie folk type stuff, but this is more like spacey, very Neil Young, steel guitar, the reverb, the heavy echo. I just dig this song. When I played it for my wife, she was like, "Was this from the 60s?" I'm like, "No, this is like 2019 or something." Like, it's one of his later efforts. So, it's just one of those really great mood, like Lord Huron, and that kind of effect. And I really dig this song. So.
And
I love him. I love his voice.
He's got a very particular voice.
He's got a great voice.
It almost sounds like it's sore or it's hoarse. He almost sounds like he's straining to sing, but that's just the way his voice is. It's just that.
And very breathy. He can be very breathy when he wants to be, but it's in a good way. Sometimes you kind of cringe from that. It's like, but in a good way. It's very effective. It's emotive. And I dig him. So he's So there's my number 5.
All right, we got Gray and we have Lavender.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Clark, what are you going to add to the rainbow?
Right,
the veritable bag of Skittles of music that we're.
So I've been driving my kid to football games and football practices for the last few weeks because it's that time of year, and so I play a lot of music to let's get charged up, and he even asked for it now. So I played a few Metallica concerts, and the opening of any Metallica show, any Metallica fan has heard this song. It's a little bit different for something that I would think I'd do for a top 5 here, but it's The Ecstasy of Gold by Ennio Morricone, which I believe is in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yep.
And it's just one of those songs that you can't help but crank it up. Even it's not something that I normally crank in the car, but you can't help but feel something when you hear it. It's an amazingly well done song, and I definitely see why Metallica comes out to that song, because it gets you all charged up, and it has the same vibe as a good rock and roll song, is what I would say.
He picked it, not me, Dean.
No.
I'm usually the outlier in this, but Chris, I love your taste, man. That's awesome. That's an awesome.
It's funny because when I saw
when I heard it, I'm like, wait a minute, and it didn't even connect right away. I was driving, I'm like, wait a minute, why am I not putting this on the list? And then I saw one of your friends did another song from that soundtrack on the psychedelic list. So I said,
I picked the title,
the
title track. Yeah.
Yeah, oddly enough, when I saw the Cult in 1989, they opened for Metallica. I only went to go see the Cult, so me and my friend left when Metallica came on, and that was what was playing when we left.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Was that? But then people started throwing M80s and fire. So we were we were on the 13th row. Like, we need to leave. It was more of a self-preservation act than anything.
And what's so cool?
Does Andrew Kamines know that story?
Yeah.
We covered it in the metal episode, I think, didn't we? Yeah.
I think so.
Did it come up later? I might have missed it at the end.
He left when Metallica was coming on just to see the
went to go
during the Injustice for All tour.
Yep.
And when that song comes on, and Chris, we've seen them a couple times. They always play what they play "A Long Way to the Top" by AC/DC before that, right?
It's "A Long Way to the Top" by AC/DC, and then after that's over, then they kick into the Ecstasy.
You just hear that bong and the lights go down, and then just
that's like their entrance music, right?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
the place goes insane. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got Gray, Lavender, and Gold. Gold. From City Slickers 2.
Yep. Jack Palance.
Come and get me. Come and get me.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 5. This was the latest late edition. I took some stuff off and I added. It's interesting that actually, when I read about this song, it was originally released in 1967 and it hit 100. It only hit 103 on the charts. Then it was re-released in 1972 and it went all the way to number 2. Nights in White Satin by the Moody Blues.
Great choice.
Amazing song. Amazing record. Amazing record too.
Very and when this album came out, Denny Lane and one of the other members had left the Moody Blues, and John Lodge and Justin Hayward joined, and would totally change the whole face of the band and everything, and it kind of became, that's really what the Moody Blues became, and everybody kind of considers them the classic lineup, even though they weren't original members. And Nights in White Satin just has that vulnerable vocal by Justin Hayward. It's a classic, but after listening to it, I hadn't heard it in so long. I'm like, wow, it really hits. So Nights in White Satin by the Moody Blues from 1967/1972, because they weren't happy with 103 as a chart position, and they were right. Re-released it and went all the way, almost to the top. So there we go. That's the first round. So it's gray, lavender, gold, and white. Interesting.
Wow.
Some muted. Those are like kind of muted colors. The lavender is the boldest color out of that round so far. I think lavender wins the most interesting color for this round. So, all right, number 4, Jonathan. What do you got?
All right, I'll brighten it up a little bit.
All right.
This is a song from 1994. I know my brother knows it well. And this is one of those songs that dawned on me when I went, wait, that's a color. Ruby Soho by Rancid. Off their off their album Out Come the Wolves. And that album is just classic. I mean, and I said 94, excuse me,
it's
95.
A perfect album.
But we were lucky enough to see it on its 20th anniversary tour, which makes, of course, us feel old. But they performed. When we saw them, they did the whole thing, Chris, or just the majority of it.
I think if they didn't do all of it, they did the majority of it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just one of those albums where The Needle Falls is just perfect, and Tim Armstrong is just such a great songwriter, and that really was benefited from MTV at that point, just playing so many punk, and right after Green Day, and they all came from the same area of San Francisco or from outside the Bay, and it's just one of those songs where you hear it, and no matter what genre of music you grew up listening to in the 90s, it, and you could sing the chorus, just from the top of your head.
Everybody our age knows that song.
Yeah. Yep. And it's, again, and I thought about this, I said this about, Dave Matthews song, which is when you see a band live, you could hear that song 2 or 3 times in the same concert and you wouldn't be upset. Like it's such a classic song. And I always laugh I know I love a song if when I think about it, I could tell you what number it was on the CD because I would always be going to that number. So I believe this was number 9 on that CD, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But it's just a great song.
So that was a skip the filler thing that
there's no filler on that album.
There's no filler on this. There is absolutely no filler on that record.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, apparently Jonathan is skipping.
No, that's just because I wanted to play the song so many times. I just kept going to it.
Good choice.
When you listen to a song and then you're like, I have to go back and just put it on right again. It's like kind of one of those special ones that you just you don't want to continue the album or listening until you've gone back and what, let me get that one again. I sometimes even a third time I'll go back for it. Depends on.
And I just confirmed it was track 9, which makes me feel good about my memory.
Number 9. The title is
Ruby Soho.
Ruby Soho.
All right, so we've got Ruby. Eric, what do you got for number 4?
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna go classic. I mean, the classic song. I mean, A Whiter Shade of Pale. Procol Harum. I mean, has to be. Has to be on the list. So, it's what can I say? What can be said about this song? It's just iconic. And I mean, I think a few other people have covered it over the years. Nobody's ever come close, I think, to matching
no way.
Was that Gary Booker?
Gary Booker, the vocal, it was just, and just the sort of
the organ, the church organ.
The organ, isn't it?
That organ is so good.
And isn't it a piece of classical music? No, is it not? I think it's
I'm not 100% sure. It wouldn't surprise
It's like
me.
an excerpt from something.
I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah, it's like a famous, could be. I don't know if it's Bach or some, or I don't know. I have to look it up, but it just But it's like, I mean, it's just such a legend.
I used to despise that song. I was like, oh my God, it's so played out. But just because you would hear it all the time, but not because I never really listened to it. It was just kind of like, you'd always hear the organ. I'm like, oh Christ, But then after really kind of sitting with it and listening to it, kind of like House of the Rising Sun for me, like that was always a song I was like, whatever. But now I
can see
love
that.
it.
Yeah.
Like once you sit with it and listen to it and you really dive into what's going on with the song and the vocal, I years ago, I totally turned around on that. I'm like, this is, that was me being a, silly rabbit trickster for kids. Kind of like, judging it just because of what I always hear like a snippet on the radio. It's like, whatever. But then when you actually listen to that song, it's gorgeous.
Well, those are the days when I think, we were trying to get into the new stuff that was happening at the time. And it was just, it might have been a little too ancient for us then. Now it's actually
classic.
It's classic, but in a much better way.
Yeah.
But there it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's something for, revisiting some of those songs that we were technically alive for, but not necessarily coherent. Might have been in the cradle or the crib, whatever. But then going back and those so many songs you take for granted. I have a couple on my list too that kind of took for granted, and then when you reassess it, it's kind of it's good stuff. So, all right. Whiter shade of pale. So it's got kind of a color and a tone or a hue of paleness. So, Chris, what do you got for number 4?
To me, number 4 for me, my number 4 is the most perfectly constructed pop song ever written. And like my brother with Ruby Soho on the Rancid record, this is one of those songs that if I put this album on, this is the one that I keep repeating. It's Raspberry Beret by Prince. I know that Prince has a lot of color songs, but this is easily like, when my son goes Raspberry, Dad, I'm like, but it's the color of the beret. You got to listen to the lyric. But to me, it's easily his. I don't know. He's got a lot of great tunes. I love a lot of his stuff. This is the song that's always been the standout to me. It's just like it's almost like a great '60s song, the way it's constructed and the way it's played and stuff. And I love it. I've always loved that song.
That's an amazing album.
Violin too. And it's so good.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's
it's almost a psychedelic record.
Yeah, it's very experimental. I love it. Yeah, it's one right after Purple Rain.
Yeah. That kind of gave him the freedom to kind of do what he wanted to. Yeah, and kind of expand. And he immediately took a turn from doing like Purple Rain sounding stuff and took the opportunity to kind of expand his catalog and what he was doing. And Raspberry Beret, it was a big hit. And it's one of my favorite Prince songs as well. So it's just a fun song. It's kind of, it's poppy, but it's got the Prince elements to it. It's got all the great musicality as well. And it's got those risque Prince lyrics as well. He's always like, and then he could say almost anything. He could say some of the, horniest or sex ridden stuff, but he puts it in a pop song and it's like, it's okay.
And the way he utilizes the strength of his voice in that song too is just the range he has, and so great.
Yeah. Great one.
Yeah,
great choice. Yep.
So we got Ruby, we have White, and we have Raspberry. Interesting. I'm going to go with mine is from the year 2000, the dawn of the new millennium, and this band was just firing on all cylinders. And the name of the song is Yellow by Coldplay. But Eric, we stole another one.
We stole another one. Yep. No, you're good. You're fine. So I'm going to have to repeat colors then, I guess.
That's okay. That's okay.
Jeez. All right.
Yeah, there's just something about this song. It just kind of kicks off. It's like really kind of a on the heavier side for Coldplay, which I kind of dig. Chris Martin has a particular voice too. You can always recognize Coldplay by his type of higher register voice. So it's interesting that this song is so heavy, but then you have that Chris Martin kind of higher vocal on top of it, which kind of is like a counterpoint to the heaviness of the song. It's just one of those ones that it always kind of stuck with me, Yellow. So I was kind of like, all right, it's a color and it's just one word too. It kind of says it all. It's like, boom.
It probably my favorite Coldplay song.
Sorry.
And Parachutes is I think their best album. I mean, I don't, the one right after that, Rush to the Blood?
Rush of
Blood up to the head.
Rush of Blood to the head.
Clocks and all that. That they started getting them, to like the real fancy with their stuff, and then the album, every album after that seemed to be more of sort of the same kind of thing. This was probably their edgiest album, I would say, or their
Clocks used to be my ringtone on my phone.
Yeah, that was an amazing track.
At the beginning of it, it's just a great looping.
My wedding party walked into that song.
What's that?
Really?
My wedding party walked into my wedding to that song.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's wild.
It's a great kind of
not for the lyrical content, just that intro piece. It's got a cool vibe to it. So
it's real neat. So all right, so Yellow, Ruby, Cranberry, and White. Interesting. So there's a little more red tones in this round, and then Eric and I are on the paler side with the yellow and the white. So let's get cracking. Before we get to number 3, again, give us your picks. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Let us know what your selections are. Don't take any of Eric's. I mean, he's already getting battered around by us.
Beaten up here.
Give the guy a break. Wait till you listen to the episode. Give him his space before you send us your picks. We're. I don't think you know what? I hope I'm looking at my list. I hope I don't steal another from him. I'm going to feel really bad. So I hope he can at least take one from one of us. It's only right that we pick 2. So let's find out. Let's move on to number 3, Mr. Jonathan Clark. What do you got?
All right. What I got is my favorite Metallica song of all time.
Wow, a second entry.
Yeah. And that is Fade to Black off of Ride the Lightning, which to me is just, it's proof that James Hetfield is just an amazing lyricist. I just think that, I think about how young they were when they recorded those first 2 albums, and the songwriting capabilities of Hetfield is just, it's mind blowing. And that song, just the lyrics are dark, but they're delivered in such a meaningful way. And what I've always loved about that song is there's really no chorus. The chorus is just the guitar breakdown after each finishing verse. And, I love the 2-minute outro, which, you kind of have to look a little bit past Lars's drumming because it's very simple in that, but it's just the guitars of Hetfield and Hammett. Just it's just a great feel to that song. And, especially with the intro, the acoustic, it's always been my favorite, Metallica song since I've heard it. So that's a clear winner for me. So that's my 3rd pick.
Cool.
So and to that point, it also shows how they're not afraid to. Metallica isn't a band that is afraid to take chances, because like when that record came out and that song came out, they actually that was when they started getting labeled with the sellout label, because the bands that they were playing with at the time, like Exodus and Testament and Slayer and Megadeth, they were all like these bands that played like 100 miles an hour, and it was just all go for the throat music. And that's kind of like an outlier in that genre of like thrash metal. So the fact that they were willing to do that also speaks to their desire to say, hey, we're going to do what we want to do when we do it. And if you want to come along, great. If not, that's great too. So I give them a lot of credit.
Chris, how old was he when he wrote that song?
He was born in '63, and that record came out in '84, so he was 21.
21.
I mean, it's just, just to think about,
was a baby.
how young they were when they were doing these songs that are still timeless. I mean, it's still amazing to hear them live, and they were so young. So it's just, that always blew my mind too.
Yeah, and 21 with a recording contract as well. Kind of, so
they were already on a major label.
Yeah, they had to be, putting the goods out there well before that in order, because that's what you said was their second album, right? That Fade to Black is on.
Ride the Lightning, yeah.
Yeah, so that you're talking teens, and 20-year-olds and teens, that are performing at that level and understanding or helping create the genre at that age, right? I mean, largely that kind of music largely didn't exist until that whole uprising of all those artists seemingly at the same time, right? They all kind of seemingly sprouted out of nowhere all of a sudden.
Yeah, they all they came from LA, but then a bunch of them came from San Francisco, and then you had a couple of outliers here on the East Coast. But yeah, they all kind of came up at the same time within that 81 to 85 time period, I would say.
Yeah, very, very interesting that it was kind of all over the place, this kind of style of really hard, fast music in your face. And then these people all had the same idea in different parts of the country. So it's pretty wild. All right. Fade to Black from Metallica. Eric, grab one. Why don't you steal from one of us? Go ahead.
I'm
encouraging you.
I don't think any. Well, I don't know. But this one's a standard of sorts. In the '90s, I found Coltrane. So I was listening to a lot of Coltrane. So I was also listening to what the famous quartet of McCoy Tyner and Elvin Jones and what these guys were doing. This track I love is When Sonny Gets Blue, off of McCoy Tyner's one of his solo records. It's been covered by a lot of people, including Norah Jones. I mean, it has lyrics to it, but I love the way he plays this. You talk about tickling the keys, and that phrase that you hear. He's literally doing this, and throughout the whole song, it's slow, it languishes, but when he hits those keys like that, it really perks you up, and it kind of it moves very slowly, but also very you're also like heightened, and it's a feel good type of mood. Even though it's like, okay, it's nighttime. It's getting blue out. It's twilight. It's you kind of get that vibe from it. And Jonathan, I think we spoke about numbers and titles at one point, and we talked about how certain numbers can reflect a mood of a song or something like that. This definitely has that vibe for me as far as colors go. So yeah, so there. Cool. So there it is. So, but right. I mean, I'm a big jazz. I mean, jazz is very, very difficult genre to. I'm just such a novice in jazz, but I went for the big cats, right. and I'm still learning.
Well, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, but this guy, this is a great record, and I dig it a lot. So there it is.
So we're going with the McCoy Tyner version, right?
McCoy Tyner, When Sonny Gets Blue. Yep.
When Sonny Gets Blue.
There you go.
All right. Christopher Clark, number 3. What's it going to be?
So this one is for this. I see what you did there.
Like that, huh?
This one is for. Yes, I do. This is for mine and Jonathan's old man, Eric Clapton. I love Eric Clapton basically from 5 Live Yardbirds to Derek and the Dominoes. Like, I love that period of his music. I think if he didn't record another note after Layla, he'd have been amazing. And the one I picked is White Room, because it's the first song I ever really got into by Cream. It's, to me, some of Eric Clapton's best lead playing. It's a little bit of a dirtier and raunchier sound than he had a little later on in his career. And I did this one for my old man because the producer of this single was Felix Pappalardi.
Guy used to be right behind me. Oh, wait, that's an imposter. That's not Felix.
So,
That's
but it's
great.
always been one of my favorite Cream songs.
Yeah.
Wheels of Fire is an amazing record.
Mhm.
Both parts of it, both live and studio. And I just think it's one of Clapton's best moments is that song and in its recorded version on Wheels of Fire.
Yeah.
Great
White
choice.
Cream. Good
Yep.
choice. Good choice. Eric definitely approves, but you didn't have that, did you?
I did not.
Okay.
Funnily enough, I did not.
We kind of have to check with Eric after each one of our choices just to
But-
make sure we're good.
Yeah. We'll get to it, but there it is. Yeah.
All right. This is going to be one of the most eclectic playlists simply because of my next pick with we've got jazz, we've got Metallica,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're going to have a song from 1977 that hit number 2, which crossed over to the pop charts, and it's got 2 colors in the title. So I think I'm the first one grabbing that one. This is a song I've always loved. I've always loved the vocal performance on it. Even when it came out in 77 and I was a kid, but now I love it even more. And it's Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue by Crystal Gale.
There you go. Wow. That's a
Well,
blast.
you guys probably don't know that song. Eric knows it.
I've
know
definitely
it.
heard
I
it.
know it well.
Crystal Gale is actually Loretta Lynn's younger sister.
Oh, she was gorgeous. Yeah.
And yeah, she was
very cool.
significantly younger. I guess there was a lot of kids in the family or whatever. So she set out on a country career as well. And Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue was not really country. It was more pop. So it hit the pop charts as well.
Very
And
contemporary.
Yeah, she's got a beautiful voice. There's a beautiful falsetto, and the way she sings the song, she really kind of hangs on a lot of the notes at the end of each phrase, which just makes it it kind of helps it transcend out of just being a 70s pop song.
It's one of my dad's favorite songs from that
I
period.
love it. Yeah.
And she had the most gorgeous hair. She had
She has
hair like
down to her feet.
down to her ankles.
Yeah.
Like long
that's her
brown hair.
trademark. Yeah.
Straight. Yeah. It was, and the most beautiful eyes too. Yeah. Beautiful blue eyes.
Don't it make her brown eyes blue? So there's 2 colors in there. I got 2 for 1.
Mm-hmm.
But from 1977 hit number 2. So this is probably the most eclectic. This is sizing up to be the most
Ecstasy of Gold. You got yeah. We've
got, you know what? That's
Coltrane.
We've got it all on this, which is really nice. So so what was that? So that was Brown and Blue, White Room.
Mm-hmm.
Eric had Blue.
I had Blue.
And Jonathan had Black. So black, blue, brown, white. Wow. All right. Now we're heading to number 2, where I think that the stakes are getting higher. I have one which I know Eric probably won't touch, but I'm afraid for these the Clark contingency, as I'm going to call them, because I'm not sure. I got scared a couple of times already. So, Jonathan, give us your number 2.
I'm worried. I don't know. This might be on Eric's list, but funny story. I was driving my daughter before we recorded, and I had this. I was like, Chris had mentioned I was going through my list, and this song came on, and she said out loud, "Wait, you know this song?" And so instantly I got happy, and then all of a sudden the knife was turned when she's like, "I know it from TikTok." This is the best-selling 12-inch single of all time, released in 1983 by New Order, Blue Monday. And
okay.
Yeah. I typed it in. I thought about it, but no.
I mean, I was glancing over at the clock on the track. I think it's a full 30 seconds of the drum machine.
Yeah.
And I just love that it just, as it goes along, it just introduces one more thing and one more thing, and just it slowly fades up. And Bernard Sumner's just lyrics are just so, it's cryptic. It just has that dark feel to it. And New Order, I mean, I know there's really no comparing the two, but I'm a big Joy Division fan, and I got into New Order after.
They rose out of the ashes after Ian Curtis, took his own life. New Order rose out of the ashes of Joy Division.
That's a great choice.
I saw Peter Hook with his band The Light. I saw them, I think it was 2 years ago, and he played both the Joy Division albums, the 2 main back to back, but he played a New Order set. And hearing this song live, and he was singing it, and it wasn't Bernard Sumner, but still, it's just that their ability to write music that is just so catchy, just sits in your head. So and this was a big new metal hit by the band Orgy when they recorded it, and it just the use of the Oberheim drum machine. It really defines the 80s. I mean, that is that 80s sound. So I felt it had to be on my list because I just absolutely love the song.
Yeah, New Order was totally leveraging the technology. A lot of those bands were totally just leveraging all that technology. Depeche Mode was doing that as well, and just kind of really. But Blue Monday is just
good choice, very good choice.
Yeah, an alternative standard, a British invasion standard. It hits on so many different levels. That's a great choice. Eric did not have it, so
I did not have. I was going to pick Blue Monday by Fats Domino, but no.
Blueberry Hill.
Yeah, there you go. But no, that's a fantastic choice. It didn't even occur to me.
That's what I was saying.
All right, there you go.
You asked if it was hard. It popped. I was like, well, Blue Monday's going to be on there, So like all these songs just kind of popped up right away.
Yeah. I thought about it. I typed it in and kind of like, maybe. All right, Eric, let's get you into the safe zone. Let's knock out your number 2.
Okay. Well, I don't think anybody picked Green yet. So I mean, this was in my honorable mention. I had to move it up the list a little bit, but since nobody picked Green yet, I'm going to go with the Lemon Pipers with Green Tambourine. Just a, a fun, almost reminds me of the Beatles, reminds me of Yellow Submarine, has that kind of vibe, just loose and fun and just, psychedelic. But yeah, we could have used this on the psychedelic episode, but no. It was always a favorite of mine.
Right there.
Yeah. I actually like this song. I prefer this over Yellow Submarine, believe it or not. I just think it's a better tune, But
it's
there
it is.
Did Liberace cover it?
Yeah, it's a fun, trippy song.
Liberace. Maybe. I don't know, man.
No, Liberace didn't dance to that one.
What was the one?
Oh my God! It
what
was
the one he danced to
59th
again?
Street.
I forget.
It was Feeling Groovy. Simon and Garfunkel.
Feeling Groovy. That was it.
Oh my God! You have to see that.
Hey there.
You will not be able to take your.
Yeah. It's.
Hey, young folks, Jonathan, what you knowing?
I'll resend you guys the link so you can re-experience it, and Jonathan can.
And you know what? He sent me the link, and I watched it, and ever since then, it's popped up on my YouTube feed. Like every day, I fucking see that thing, and I just cannot not watch it. It's just it's creepy. I don't know what it is about it, but it's such a weird vibe.
It's great. Yeah. Okay, so Green Tambourine by the Lemon Pipers. So lemon is actually kind of a color as well.
Yeah,
could be. So, Eric, I think that might have been on my list for the psychedelic songs. I think.
It might have been mentioned.
I don't think I mentioned it. I think it was like in my honorables that we didn't get to. So I'm glad. That's why I was so excited when because that song keeps popping up for me to like put on a list somewhere. So because it's so trippy but it's fun. It's poppy and it's hits all my buttons. Anyway,
there you go,
Christopher. All right, number 2. What do you got?
All right, so I'm gonna keep with the same color, but a different tune.
Okay.
I just recently watched the documentary on HBO about Stax Records, and this is one of their first major hits. And even if you don't know that you've heard this song, you've heard the song. It's "Green Onions" by Booker T and the MGs.
Yeah,
that was on my list, but I took it off.
It was one of the most. To me, I mean, even like it's even one of those ones like my wife who can't stand instrumental music, even she knows this song. So it's just a really well done song. The guitar leads are amazing. That bass line is undeniable, and Booker T knew enough to not overplay. He just gives the right touches, and it's just a really groovy song.
Yeah, it's just got that pulsing organ that just kind of drives the song. It came out in 1962. This is because I had all this. It was on my list, and it hit number 3 in 1962. So you're talking 62 years old, and it's one of those instrumentals that just it's got a vibe to it, right, Chris? It's kind of just it settles in immediately it settles into a vibe. Like as soon as it starts, like it's already there.
And it came out of a jam too. Like in the documentary, they talk about they were just kind of like jamming on a groove, and it like basically opened itself up to the band. And then let's like I don't think it's Duck Dunn playing bass, but it's Steve Cropper on lead guitar, and it's just some of the tastiest licks he's ever had. He's not really going crazy. It's just it's just like the perfect touches and the perfect points in the song, and it's just these really cool like just little lead flourishes that are awesome.
Yeah, he's just throwing accents in to kind of like enhance the track. Like that like I said, that whole track is kind of laid down just with the organ and just kind of going, and he's just kind of throwing those little flourishes in, just kind of really just kind of picking away and throwing it in.
You just can't help but think of like dudes on bikes or motorcycle, like just the whole like gang vibe and just riding in a group, like. I think it's been used forever. I mean, how many movies has that thing been in? But it never wanes. It's just such a classic track. Yeah.
Well done, Christopher Clark. Green Onions. So we had double green. That's awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, my number 2. I remember hearing this song when it first came out. It was just always like a through line to my youth for some reason. Although I'm not the biggest fan. Heart of Gold by Neil Young. 1972 hit number 1. Gold is a color. It's just one of those, like it's, for all the eclectic stuff that he's done and all the weirdness, he can just also write beautiful songs, and like Heart of Gold and Lot of Love. And Love Can Break Your Heart? Like he can just write really beautiful songs, and Heart of Gold is one of those, kind of, wearing his heart on his sleeve, literally. And I think Linda Ronstadt is on backing vocals, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's her in the back. I could be wrong.
She's a part of that Laurel Canyon scene that was big at the time, so I'm sure she is.
Yeah, so Heart of Gold by Neil Young. I just remember hearing that when it came out when I was a kid on like AM radio. And it's one of those songs that have always just kind of, I'll never turn it off when it comes on. And I think at the time, because it had the acoustic guitar and the harmonica and kind of reminiscent of like America, when they kind of came to the forefront and they kind of had that same sound. They were using the harmonica and the acoustic guitars, and it was all like reminiscent, but Heart of Gold, Neil Young, number 2.
And I think that album is just produced so beautifully. Like it just has such a great sound.
It's a perfect album.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. We should do it.
Good choice. What follows it up with is just like,
the 4 of us should do it.
Why not?
Yeah.
And, if Felix Pappalardi produced it, we'll get Kevin Clark into. I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, I love that album.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not
me too.
Go wrong with him. So, all right, we're barreling towards our number 1s. Don't forget, give us your choices, your picks. We want to add them to this great playlist, and we'll have it on Spotify, and the link will be in the show notes so you can access it and share it with your friends. And of course, once we do our number 1, we'll do a few honorable mentions as well. This way, we kind of round out the list and kind of beef it up a little bit. But here we go. We are barreling towards number 1. Jonathan Clark. What is your top pick for songs with a color in the title?
So after you asked me to do this episode, I mentioned the theme to my wife and daughter, and this was instantaneously the first song they both sang at me, and I smirked and said, "Yeah, it's going to be my number 1." I'm going to go back to 1983. It's a cover, and it was another staple of MTV, and I've loved it ever since I heard it, and it's Red Red Wine by UB40.
There you go. I knew it. Somebody was going to pick it. Yeah.
And I know it's
fantastic. Yeah.
There's a reason why one of us had to pick it, because it's just so good. And I mean, I love Neil. I'm a big Neil Diamond fan, so I love the original, but just that feel. And I remember as a kid watching the video where the only thing colored in the whole video was him drinking the wine.
Yeah, it was the wine.
And in reading up on it, and I think it's great because I do know the cover, Tony Tribe recorded it in 1969, and UB40 thought that was the original when they recorded it. So they thought they were re-recording a reggae song, but it was actually, they were re-recording a Neil Diamond song. And it's just, again, one of those songs you hear it and you know it. I have a great memory when the first time I went to Jamaica, we were on like a water cruise, and low to the water on a boat, and they just started blasting it, in a mix of songs. So I always have that appreciation for it, and over 40 years, and it's still going. So
Still holds up.
that was a clear pick for me for number one.
Well,
Yeah.
that and the fact of your wife and daughter, just, I could just picture some, like somebody, singing that, like, and that would get me too, if they did that to me. But yeah, I asked my family, hey, do you guys know any songs with color? And they're like, like I couldn't get anything. So you're a lucky man.
and I always remember whenever I would hear it on the radio, if it came on, I always loved the version with, the rap breakdown in the middle.
Yeah.
And they'd always didn't play it. And you're like, which version is it going to be? So I have a lot of nothing but positive memories with the song. So I'm glad that someone felt someone had to pick it, and it was me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? As you said, red wine, I'm like, oh, okay. It's got a double color and it's the same. And then I thought about, immediately came to me that Neil Young has another song, Cherry Cherry.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He likes to repeat. I guess he was in that.
That's a great tune too.
I guess he was in that phase back then of just kind of, all right, let me use the same word twice. This way it kind of helped me kind of push the song along and make the title easier to remember. Yeah. All right. So you, Red Wine, number one from Jonathan Clark. Eric, you made it. No one's taken your number one. Or unless one of those were your number one. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, well, this was in my honorable mention, but I had to move it up like Green Tambourine, but because we talked about the album, and but I could not use it, and the reason for that is because of the story behind it, and that it's Red Rain by Peter Gabriel.
Nice,
because So is one of my all-time favorite albums ever, and it's such a great epic track. I think it was one of the tracks off the record that Daniel Lanois said that's his favorite track because it just felt so complete, and so like there was so much work that went into that one track. Just that one track, I think it was the longest time they spent on it. You got like not one, not two, but three different drummers on the track. Stuart Copeland on the hi-hat, just alone on the hi. That's how detailed the song is. Jerry Marotta on drums, the splashing, the whole bit. But Peter Gabriel said he had that in a dream where he dreamt it was raining, but it was raining blood. And it just, that image alone just kind of just, it's just too special to me. It's just not included. Right. So, but like, again, I didn't want to just, was it going to be my number one? I don't know, but I'm glad it is now because there it is.
Red Rain.
Yep.
We got red wine, and Red Rain as number ones. Christopher Clark, we going to make it a triple or?
No. So when I told my kid that I was going to do this list, he rifled off like a bunch of songs with Black in the title. And then I was in the car the other night driving back from dinner with my family, and then I got like a bunch more songs with Black in the title. And so I tried to think of a song with Black in the title that wasn't overly obvious, but I thought was an amazing song. And so a friend of mine, when this record came out, said, you really need to listen to this. And it came out in 2006.
I'm getting nervous.
The title cut off of Back. It's the title cut off of Back to Black by Amy Winehouse.
Okay.
To me, if you haven't heard that entire record, it's one of the most amazing records recorded in the 21st century. It's like a modern for its time Motown record. Everything about it is incredible, but that one song in particular, just like the melancholy of it and the lyrics and just like the sparse arrangement of the piano and the drums and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a really well done song, and it makes you realize what a tragic loss she was, that she only got to record this one masterpiece of a record before she passed away.
Yeah, we did an episode about it.
Incredible song.
Yeah, we did an episode about this album, and it's just absolutely she was she ushered in a her and Duffy and even Adele to a lesser extent at that time ushered in this new retro sound, because Duffy had Warwick Avenue, which also had that retro feel at the same time. But Amy Winehouse, there's nothing you could say. That album is as close to perfect as you're going to get.
It was that was a difficult episode
absolutely.
to get through, because it was heartbreaking to talk about. It's just the tragedy of the loss.
Yeah, because she was so fucking good.
Because I had just watched the documentary, the A24 doc before we did that episode, and I was, oh man, yeah. And the details.
That doc is so heartbreaking to watch.
Back to Black is a fantastic album, and that cut is indicative of what's to come on that record. It's just it's so great. It's so great to listen to because it wears its Motown heart on its sleeve. And even like
absolutely.
Tears Dry on Their Own is actually just a rewrite of was it I forget what song it was. I forget. It was by Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. So there is a lot of influence in there that just kind of makes this such an she talks about really difficult things lyrically, but again makes it easy. It makes it accessible and easy to listen to, and she's just got a spark and a spunk in her vocal delivery that no one else had. Back to Black.
And I guess they haven't really released anything after that record, so I guess everything's out of the vault.
I thought something came out after it. Her first album was called Frank.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think her first album was Frank. It was kind of a little poppier.
It had a couple of tracks that she was working up to. Back to Black, but Fate. So sort of like demo type stuff on that record, as I recall. But I think there might have been some posthumous
release,
some tracks after, sessions, things like that, live stuff, but
one of those absolutely. And she won a handful of Grammys. I mean, people, she was just, but that was the blessing and the curse, is not being able to handle that. So, all right, no, you're number one, Back to Black. You
and the wrong people around her.
Chris, you scared the crap out of me, because my number one is also from 2006, and it has Black in the title. I'm like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, why? Why? And this is going to be a surprise, I think, to mostly everybody. This has recently become an earworm for me. I can't stop listening to this song for some reason, and it is totally. Anybody that knows me it's probably not in my wheelhouse, but I guess it's becoming in my wheelhouse. And like Chris said, it's the title track, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, because that's what this is. This is the title track to My Chemical Romance. Welcome to the Black Parade.
That's good choice.
I'm actually surprised I didn't think of that one.
I fell in
Zach
love.
Would be proud.
Yeah, I fell in love with this song. There's something about it. It's majestic. It's Green Day-ish. It's Bohemian Rhapsody-ish.
Yeah, I was gonna say it always felt like Queen to me. Yeah,
with its different movement, with its different kind of thing. It definitely has some American Idiot, Green Day feel to it as well. Some of that kind of push and that intensity. But then Gerard Way is just just a singular type of vocalist. He writes all that stuff. He wrote Umbrella Academy, so he's a multifaceted gentleman. But yeah, there was just something very, I don't know what it was, between watching the video and then listening to the song. I'm like, wow, I think, I don't know if I remember hearing it, but it sounded somewhat familiar. Maybe the end part did. But then I'm just like, I just kind of, it's recently become something I'm listening to all the time, that song. So who would have thunk? My Chemical Romance, number one. Welcome to the Black Parade from 2006. Number 9 on the charts as well. So wow, that's an eclectic bunch for a top 5. That is,
it really is.
We got reggae, we got jazz, we have country crossover, we have Rancid, we have double Metallicas, we got Clapton, we got psychedelic Green Tambourine. So this is really, we've got everything. Why don't you add to it? Make sure you hit us up, give us your list. We're going to run through a couple of honorable mentions.
Are we going to do just 2 or because that's all I have left.
Okay, well then that's all you.
Sorry.
Give me all you got. Give me all you got. All right, let's mix it up. Let's go with Chris first. Let's give Jonathan a little breather. Let him get himself sorted out after going through the top 5. After giving us the number 1, we'll let him get realigned. Chris, what do you got for an honorable mention?
Well, my son, when I told him I was doing this was one of the songs he kept asking me if I was going to put in my list, and it lost out by a hair. And the only reason I didn't put it in the list is because I felt like it might have been obvious, or it was one of those ones I was concerned someone might have doubled up on. And my kid is a huge Elton John fan. At 13, he loves Elton John. And the song is Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, from the album Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Yep.
And it's just a phenomenally well-written song, that piano progression and the vocal performance, and of course Bernie Taupin's incredible lyrics. It's just it really is a perfect song, and like I said, missed my list by just a hair.
Yeah, we did an episode on that album as well, and just the magic of it. And yeah, that's probably my favorite Elton John. That's probably my number 1 favorite Elton John song of all time is Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I think there's just something about it. It everything just fell together. It's got that classic sound to it. It's got a great vocal performance by Elton John. Like I said, it would be nothing without Bernie Taupin writing all those experiences down and everything that he was thinking and feeling, and then Elton John taking it and adapting it and internalizing it himself, and then adding music to it. Yeah. Absolutely
amazing song.
And it was one of the great double albums of all time, I think, too. Yeah,
absolutely,
some great stuff.
100%.
Yep.
My favorite is the opening cut.
Funeral for a Friend.
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. That's amazing.
Love Lies
Actually, you have another song with a color on there. You got Gray Seal, which is a great song.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's another color.
Yeah, it is a good tune
as well. So, all right, Eric, one of 2 honorable mentions that you got. Lay it on.
All right, I found this. I listened to this recently, and this was an album that I loved in the mid '80s, '84. And again, this is when I got into Pink Floyd. So David Gilmour's Blue Light from his About Face record. Such a great. This is Forever Man before Forever Man, and it's such a superior track, I think, to Forever Man. I never really realized just how close Forever Man actually sounds to Blue Light.
Really?
It's almost the same type of vibe. And once you hear it, Jeff Porcaro is on drums, some of the same personnel plays on it. Steve Winwood has an amazing, organ solo in it. It just has some great horns, the classic, the horn section, the British guys that played at the Concert for George, I forget the name of the sax player he died. Jim Price and Bobby Keys, those guys play on the track. It's just, and it has that classic, iconic Run Like Hell riff. He does that, like that. It's just ongoing, but he plays over that as well. Some great guitar soloing in that. It's a very catchy, very fast-paced song, and I love it from his About Face record. Yeah, that was an amazing. I listened to that album endlessly when I got into Floyd, and that's when I realized I think I'm more of a Gilmour fan than Roger Waters at that point, because he could do like that, just rock. He could just do that kind of stuff, and just it was more accessible. It didn't sound anything like Pink Floyd at all. Yeah. But would go on to Floyd would carry on with the Floyd name, but more or less, I think that a lot of the stuff, some of it sounded the same. If you listen to the album, there's other tracks on it that are similar to the Pink Floyd sound that would continue with, like Momentary Lapse and Division Bell. But this track, it kicks in, and I was like, man, this holds up. I was like, fuck Clapton at this, I was like,
that album deep dive.
Yeah, I was, because Forever Man was just because they had to cut 3 tracks off of Behind the Sun. The studio didn't want it. There's no hits off, so they got these guys together. And I never occurred to me how close. When you hear Blue Light, you'll know what I'm talking about.
All right.
So there you go. Yeah.
David Gilmour. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know what? Most people like David Gilmour because he doesn't complain in his songs. He just plays actual music. He's not just complaining
Right.
about something.
Or has
Like,
controversial politics.
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, Roger Waters has the market cornered on what's called complaint rock.
Yeah.
We just did Styx, Grand Illusion. We talked about corporate rock. He's the only
Yeah.
artist in complaint rock right now, or axe to grind rock.
Well, the song is in itself is about blue. It's a blue woman, like I think she's lady of the night kind of thing. It's just has that thing going for it. But yeah, it's an amazing track. Yeah,
David Gilmour.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Succeeding or preceding Forever Man by Clapton. Jonathan Clark, what do you got for your first honorable mention? What's it going to be?
So this one was hovering into the top 5, but I for lack of accessibility, or maybe not everybody knows this band. It's off of honestly my favorite album of all time, Trouble Will Find Me from 2013 by the band The National. The song is Pink Rabbits, which The National, an indie band originally from Ohio, but they came through Brooklyn. They're known now because they work with Taylor Swift and other artists, and Matt Berninger has a very monotone baritone voice, and it just fits in this song, which is, if you read up on it, the title Pink Rabbits is about, because they talk about drinking Pink Rabbits, which is a drink where you combine tequila and strawberry quick. And I don't know how.
Oh my God.
I have tried it while listening to the song.
Good. Hang on, wait. Chris had a reaction.
It's pretty good.
I just
not
can't.
gonna
I don't
lie.
see how those two get
So
mixed.
you made it? You made a Pink Rabbit?
Yeah, I was listening to this song once. I said I got to see what this tastes like, so I did it.
So it's tequila and strawberry quick.
It's strawberry quick. That's what it reportedly. Anytime you ever looked it up, but there is another version of a Pink Rabbit, but the one they're talking about is this. But it's just they're such a talented band. I actually saw them a couple of weeks ago, and that album front to back is without a doubt my favorite album of all time. Cool. It's a perfect album to me. And so I wanted to put that song in there, but Pink Rabbits is a
nice,
a quintessential National song.
Nice. The National. Awesome. Pink Rabbit. All right. My first honorable mention. This is a song title that shares the same title with 3 other songs that I know of. It's the same exact title. One is by Lou Gramm. One is by the Electric Light Orchestra.
Okay, I know.
But I didn't pick either one of those.
I almost picked ELO though.
Really? Yeah, I stayed away. This is Midnight Blue, but it's by Melissa Manchester. This is another song that when you're young, it's like, oh, this is so sappy. It's goofy. It's a ballad. I don't listen to that. Now, when I listen to Midnight Blue by Melissa Manchester, it is a vocal performance. She is so good. And she really, it's really like a impassioned vocal, about trying to save a relationship and trying to keep things together. And again, kind of like Crystal Gale, just one of those songs that back then you kind of pass through. It's like, it's whatever, it's sappy or whatever. But now as an adult, when you listen to it, you can really appreciate everything that went into it. And the songwriting, she wrote it with Carol Bayer Sager. And again, I just hope when someone hits shuffle, it's not like Fade to Black, then Midnight Blue. I hope.
But that would be cool, though.
That would be awesome.
I like stuff like that.
It'd be like Barbieheimer. There you go.
Yeah, people would be like, what is this? What are these? Do these people even know each other that are doing these lists? That's the great thing about it is that there's so much eclectic stuff. So Midnight Blue was in my top 5, but I removed it for Moody Blues. So Midnight Blue was gonna be in there, but the great, Lou Gramm has a song, Midnight Blue, which was great. I had the 45 when it came out, when he left Foreigner, and then of course ELO has a beautiful version, and I'm sure there's so many other artists that have a song called Midnight Blue. So it's not reinventing the wheel with that title, but hers was the earliest one, so I went with it. So there we go. All right, we've got time for one more honorable mention. So Mr. Christopher Clark, lay your last one on, one that was circling the drain.
So before I do my my last honorable,
Okay.
my son asked me if I was going to put Mr. Blue Sky in my list, and I said I can't do that because I know that there's somebody else that's probably going to do it.
No, you know what? It was already on our Eric and I did like top 5, like was it feel good songs?
Feel good songs, yeah.
And Mr. Blue Sky was number 1. So
okay.
It is the happiest song ever written.
Yeah,
officially, we talked about that one.
That's a fact. Yep.
Jonathan, actually, there's an article, a Swedish or Danish scientist actually did a study on it about beats per minute and what makes people happy, and it was determined that Mr. Blue Sky is the happiest song of all time.
I remember that. That's why I'm nodding my head. I remember that story, and it makes sense.
Based on its chord progression, based on its beats per minute, there's all these different factors, and then each song gets a score. And I think in that episode, Eric, I think I ran down the list of the other ones as well. Anyway, so back to Chris.
All right. So anyway, I came up with another blues song instead. I'll never forget the first time I bought the record that this is on. I bought it at a record store and it's probably the guy got in trouble for the name of his store. It's called the Vinyl Solution in Port Chester, New York. And I remember bringing the record up because I thought, oh, this is a punk band. This is going to be a really crazy punk record. And the guy got all excited. He goes, oh, man, this is great. And I put it on when I got home and I went, what the hell is this? Because it wasn't punk. It was more like an REM-ish sounding band. It's the Replacements, and it's the album Let It Be.
Okay.
And while there are definitely punk elements on it, it's definitely raw. It's definitely messy and sloppy, but there's also some really beautiful and well-written songs on it. And if anybody out there wants to listen to some great 80s alternative rock and roll, I highly encourage anybody out there. I say it all the time when they come up. Let It Be and Tim are two of the most perfect albums ever recorded by the band Replacements.
So what's the song title?
I picked was 16 Blue. 16 Blue is
16.
It's got a very like 60s ish vibe to it, but it's just a melancholy song. It's really well written. It's got really cool notes and chord progressions on it and stuff, and I love the Replacements, so I had to represent them somehow.
16 Blue. So it's got a number and a color. Interesting.
Yes, it does.
You're calling back to a something that happened previously, an episode that may or may not ever see the light of day.
An episode in the vault.
Yeah,
the vault.
Kind of, it's in the vault. It's a bootleg. I'm gonna have to release it on LimeWire. Bootleg or BearShare or one of those. Kazaa. Yeah, we don't want to do Napster because we have Metallica on the list, and they'll,
There you go.
They would be none too happy if we mentioned Napster in this episode along with Metallica.
Right.
But I liked BearShare. I thought BearShare was pretty good back in the day. I mean, just for like me looking at it and looking at what people were doing, I didn't know how to do anything with it, but I would just kind of, everyone would talk about that, so I would just kind of look at it and see what it was about. Just saying. All right, Eric, final honorable mention.
Okay, this one's for my sister. Huge fan of this record. I actually became a huge fan of it myself because she there's a song on it that she had that she absolutely loves. But the song that I chose it's from their Mars Hotel album, and it's the Grateful Dead, Scarlet Begonias. And it's it's very short. It's only a little over 4 minutes. I mean, it's not too short, but it's not epically long either. But it's just one of those quirky, really good. It has a really great time signature on it. The drummer on it is just fantastic. It's great. It's just a great. This is really probably one of my favorite albums by them. 74 came out. Yeah, Mars Hotel. I just dig the vibe of this record. It's because it's not too jammy, but there's some really interesting textures that happen in the jams. It's not ongoing like the same, and then playing the same thing over, like long winded. They're actually improvising a little bit more in the stuff that they're doing on this record. So I dig it a lot. Scarlet Begonias is the track. There you go.
Scarlet Begonias. All right.
Yep.
Right.
I will. I was
Now,
going.
how did you and I not pick that?
Yeah, I'll pick that up. No, I did not pick it, but I have a Scarlet Begonias tattoo because of that song. That's my favorite Grateful Dead song.
Really?
So what
Oh.
the hell are you doing? What? Wait.
Fucking A. Wow, that's
body art of it, and you didn't pick it.
You know what? I thought about it, but I'm very. I think we talked about this in the bootleg episode. I don't like the studio version compared to live versions, and
okay.
That's
the
fair.
live
You could have picked a live version and said it's on, as long as it's something that we.
I don't think you wanted to add a 25-minute song to
25 minutes. So yeah, that's a. But that's fair. That's
yeah. I mean, and it's good, and it's a great try. I love. It's my favorite Grateful Dead song, hands down. But yeah, that's why I was on the fence with it. But it's still great.
All right. Well,
I'm really happy to hear that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. And for anybody out there who wants to go beyond From the Mars Hotel, if you really go down the Grateful Dead wormhole, the version that you want to hear, and my brother, I'm sure, will back me up on this. Cornell, 1977, May 8th, 1977. Some people consider it the Grateful Dead's best show. But what I will say, hands down, the best live version of Scarlet Begonias, and it goes into a song called Fire on the Mountain.
Yeah, so
amazing version.
Yeah.
All right. There it is, Scarlet Begonias. All right, well, let's roll right into Jonathan. I guess we don't have to worry about that one being a selection. What's your final?
I did go with Another Shade of Red, though. This is from 1968, and I know this. When I was pulling up the band, they had a number of songs with colors in them, but this one is Crimson and Clover by Tommy James and the Shondells. Yes. I remember the first time. I think Chris probably was the first one to play for me, and I remember hearing the vocal effect and going like, what was that?
Like underwaterish.
Sure every single one of us has talked into a fan singing that song. But I just love the song. I love the effect. And so many artists now use auto-tune and people get on it, but I'm a firm believer that auto-tune is an instrument. And, Bon Iver is an artist that uses it. And I feel like this is like the beginning of that, and just the idea of them saying how cool it'd be to put the microphone through the tremolo, and what came out of it is classic. And just the that guitar riff in there in the middle before every chorus. So just a great song, and another one that every time you hear it, you just for me, I just feel good when I'm listening to it.
Thank God you didn't pick the Joan Jett version cover.
The reason I thought of that song is I had the Joan Jett version on a playlist, and I'm like, you can't have the
Tommy James and it's interesting because Tommy James and the Shondells were a late '60s, early '70s band, but they had a name like they were from the '50s.
Yeah, Tommy James. It's funny. I had to double check the name because I only know the bigger songs like in Crystal Blue Persuasion and stuff. But
Crystal Blue Persuasion, Moni Moni, Dragon the Line. He unfortunately he was the victim of some really bad decisions. The label that he was on was owned by like a bunch of gangsters. It was basically a front.
Morris Levy.
It was basically a front, and so they would give him money. Like when he asked for money, he's like, "Oh, am I making? Oh yeah, here's a couple of bucks," and they would just kind of give him money, but they weren't giving him any of the royalties. He wasn't getting what he was supposed to be getting from like all the stuff he was doing. He was very prolific back in that time and had a lot of minor hits and was just kind of a big part of that scene, and just totally got screwed over and totally rooked by his quote unquote management, who were quote unquote in the garbage disposal industry, or carting. We'll put it that way, but yeah, you can go look it up. It's too bad about he had just kind of the same thing that happened with Frankie Valli. Got involved with the wrong people that didn't ended up having to continue to work just to break even and then try and make some money. So, but yeah, Crimson and Clover, great one, great one. And Clover is kind of can be construed as being green also. So you kind of double dip there too. All right, my final one. I'm torn. I've got two that were on the list, and I took them both off, and I'm not sure. I'm going to stay away. All right, I'm going to go with this one. In 1977, it hit number 14. Ebony Eyes by Bob Welch.
Okay,
such a great riff. Bob Welch was in Fleetwood Mac and couldn't couldn't get it going for it was like a car with a dead battery. He kept trying to turn it over and couldn't get anything going. It wasn't until he left that he actually started to have a career. He re-recorded Sentimental Lady, which was a hit. Ebony Eyes was the follow-up, and it's got a, you may not know it by its title, but you might know it by its riff, because it's got a really solid riff. This is a really solid song by him. It's just well put together, well produced, a really great vocal by Bob Welch. He's known as, doesn't have like the strongest of voices, but this song really kind of suits it. The music video is strange. Don't watch the music video, or maybe I'll send it to you. He's smoking a cigar. He's, really being real creepy with like it just seems like he's being real creepy with women in the video. Although that was apropos at the time, I suppose. But it was just,
as I say, yeah, at the time.
But yeah, Ebony Eyes was is the go-to from 1977. The one I didn't pick was Band of Gold by Frida Payne. But
okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Because you know what, we tried to get her. I tried to get her on the Motown one, but the original version wasn't available on Spotify at the time, so I didn't pick it. Okay. Now the original version is on Spotify, but we'll leave it anyway. That's what 7. That's 7 each. So that's a really nice amount of songs. So that's what, 28. So you guys can add to it. Hit us up. Let us know what your picks are. Very eclectic. Make it more eclectic. Give us some more stuff that's interesting. Like I said, we've got from reggae to jazz to country crossover to Clint Eastwood to everything in between. But that's what's so great about these top fives. Anyway, Jonathan Clark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We made it through glitch free. This will be an official episode.
Yeah.
It will not be one.
No gremlins tonight.
No gremlins tonight. Christopher Clark, thank you as always.
Thank you, sir.
Always
for
a
bringing
pleasure.
the fire. I can't believe this is only your second top 5, though. I don't know.
Well, I was on the Lost episode too, but that never actually made it to the.
That's going to be like
internet,
Smile by the Beach Boys. It's going to be in the vault for 40 years, and then we'll re-record it like Brian Wilson did with Smile.
Mm-hmm.
He re-recorded it and updated it, and we'll take another crack at it. So that's going to do it for this episode of the 3324 podcast. As I've said exhaustively throughout this episode, hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Let us know how you feel, or just follow us there. We've got a great communities of people on all of those sites where you can interact and share the things you love. And we love to interact with our audience as well. So go ahead and do it, and we'll respond. What do you think, Eric? Put a bow on this one. We're done?
Yeah. This was a good one.
Yeah.
Great choices, guys, all around.
Yeah,
can't wait to listen to this playlist.
Definitely.
It was a corker.
Yeah.
And you guys are going to get an email with a Liberace video and a creepy Bob Welch video.
Right.
So if I haven't already provided enough nightmare fuel, I'm going to keep stoking.
Hey, it is October. There you go.
Yeah, this is like Terrifier 4.
Yep.
Anyway, that's going to do it. Jonathan Clark, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Christopher Clark, thank you so much for joining us as well. Our special guest, thanks to our special guest, Felix Pappalardi. We thank him for stopping by as well, although he didn't really have much to say, but we thank him for being here in spirit. And of course, Eric and I will be, Eric will be on his couch. I'm actually on a different chair. I'm not on my green IKEA chair. I'm actually
finally got a new chair.
It's an old chair. It's like from the 80s, like one of those it's like tweed. It's like tweed, like great tweed. Okay. Like that from you would see in like a doctor's office. Yeah. I probably got it from some I don't know where I got it from. Anyway.
Okay.
It's nice and comfortable though, so I think I'll keep it. So for Chris, for Jonathan, for Eric, this has been Dean. We'll catch you on the flip side.